Chapter 8. Stanley Coveleski. Stanislaus Coveleski was born in 1890. 30 years later, as Stanley Coveleski, he became one of the few pitchers in the history of baseball to pitch 3 winning games in a single World Series. Pitching for Cleveland in the 1920 World Series, he hurled 3 complete games, permitted Brooklyn but 5 hits in each, and triumphed over the likes of Rube Marquardt, Leon Cador, and Burley Grimes. Stanley played in the major leagues from 1916 through 1928, winning 214 games over the 13-year period, mostly for the Cleveland Indians. In 5 of those seasons, he won 20 or more games, and in all but 4 he won 15 or more. Older brother Harry gained early fame with the Philadelphia Phillies. Later on, 20 games, 3 years in a row, over with the Detroit Tigers he won. The two together won far more Major League games, 297, than any other pitching brothers. Jesse and Virgil Barnes won 213, and Dizzy and Paul Dean each with 200. Both cases less than the number won by Stanley alone. Had 4 seasons, all ball players. Oldest was Jacob, a pitcher, killed in the Spanish-American War in 1898. They say he could throw a ball fast as you could hit one. Next was Frank, got the rheumatism, played with an outlaw league in Philadelphia. The rheumatism, whatever, ended that. John tried out with the A's. Eddie Collins beat him out. Then Harry and me. 5 of us, I'm the youngest. Harry and me, we both made it to the big leagues. Harry was a lefty and I was a righty. Harry started first. He was 4 years older than me. He signed with the Phillies in 1905, and they optioned him to Lancaster in the Tri-State League. That's where he came when the Phillies recalled him in September 1908. Harry came up and beat the Giants 3 times in 1 week and knocked them right out of the pennant. Most people think it was Merkel lost the 1908 pennant for the Giants. No. Well, they're wrong. It was Harry Coveleski. He was just a rookie, but he beat the Giants 3 times in the last week of the season. Pitched every day for a week and beat them 3 in a row. That was after the Merkel business, and that's what lost the pennant for McGraw that year. The New York Giants would have won the championship if they beat Harry even one of those 3 games. Giant Killer Coveleski, they called him after that. They say McGraw never forgave Harry for that. A lot of nonsense. They also say that the Giants ran him out of the league next season. Something about harmonicas or baloney or something. Supposed to have gotten to Harry's goat. What a lot of bull that is. Story that is. Nobody ever ran Harry out of any league. What happened is that he got hurt the next season, went back down to the minors for a few years, but his arm came back later. He came back up with Detroit and did fine. He was with Detroit when I was with Cleveland. They always wanted us to pitch against each other, but we refused. Wouldn't do it, and they never forced it. Hard to say what would have happened if they had. Actually, Harry beating the Giants 3 times in 1908 probably changed my life more than it did his. See, I never played much baseball when I was a kid. How could I? I was 12 years old and I went to work in the coal mines. I was born in 1890 in Shamokin, Pennsylvania. That's in Thrasite County, about halfway between Scranton and Harrisburg. When I was 12 years old, I was working in the mines from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. 6 days a week, which means 72-hour work week. If you care to figure it up, for those 72 hours, they got $3.75, about 5 cents an hour. There's nothing strange in those days about a 12-year-old Polish kid in the mines for 72 hours a week at a nickel an hour. What was strange was that I ever got out of there. Like I said, I had never played much baseball in those days. I couldn't. Never saw the sunlight most of the year. Here I went to work in the dark and came home in the dark. I would have been a natural for night baseball. Never knew the sun came up any day Sunday, but Sunday. But after I go at home, I'd throw stones at tin cans. I don't know why, just for something to do, I guess. Heck, we didn't have any television then, or radio, or automobiles, or even a telephone, or electric lights. Had to do something, so I threw stones. I put a tin can on a log and I tied it to a tree, and stand maybe 40 or 50 feet away from it and throw stones at it. Did that at every night till it was time to go to bed. I did that for so many years I could hit one of those things blindfolded. Well, all those years the semi-pro team in town, heard about me being a good throwing stones at tin cans, and they asked me if I'd like to pitch for them. That was in 1908 when I was 18. Of course, maybe their being Harry's kid brother had something to do with it too. Then before I knew what it hit me, I signed the contract to Lancaster, and I was out of those damn mimes for good. Never forget leaving home for the first time to go play with Lancaster. It was the first time I ever rode on a train. I had to get a new suit of clothes to go off to the big city, but was too bashful to buy it, so Mom and Dad went out to town, picked one out, and brought it home to fit it on me. Then, when I got to Lancaster, I was too shy to eat in the hotel with the rest of the team. I'd go to a hot dog stand and eat by myself instead. Pay for it out of my own pocket. After a couple weeks, some of the players got suspicious, never seeing me around. So one day they followed me and caught me eating my hot dogs. After that they made me go to the hotel dining room with them. I'm glad they did. I pitched for Lancaster for a few years and went up to trial with the Athletics in 1912. Connie Mack, a good manager, he was a considerate man. If you did something wrong, he'd never brawl you out on the bench or in the clubhouse. In the evening, he'd ask you to take a walk with him, and on the way, he'd tell you what you've done wrong. One day, Connie called me in and told me I was to start that day. My first big league game. I was a little nervous, but not too much. Hell, I'd been around by then 4 years in the Tri-State League. I figured I could do the job, and Ben Egan caught me. Remember Big Benny? All you have to do is throw it right to me, Ben said. I'll give you a good target. Just aim for my glove. So that's what I did. Pitched a 3-hitter. I aimed at Big Benny's glove, and it was just like throwing stones at tin cans. I didn't know the batters. Hadn't been there long enough to learn their weaknesses. All I knew was to aim at his glove. But that was enough. I always had good control. From throwing those stones, once in Cleveland later on, I pitched 7 full innings without throwing a single ball. Every pitch I threw was either a strike or was hit by the batter. Not one pitch in 7 innings that wasn't over the plate. I did okay in the trial with the Athletics. Won 2 and lost 1. But I couldn't break into that pitching staff Connie had then. Chief Bender, Eddie Pleck, Jack Combs, Herb Pennock. Don't know who could have beat them out. So Connie sent me back to the minors, out to the coast. I was put in 2 years in Spokane, and then one with Portland in the Pacific Coast League. I guess that year with Portland, 1915, was the turning point. I was 25 years old, was in my 7th year in the minors, and started to wonder if I'd ever make it to the big leagues. I had good control, a good curve, a good fastball, and a good slow ball, but evidently that wasn't enough. One day I was watching one of the Portland pitchers throwing spitballs. By gosh, I said to myself, I'm going to try to throw that. I started working on the spitter, and before long I had that thing down and pat. Had never thrown it before in my life. But before the season was over, it was my main pitch. And the next year I was up with the Cleveland Indians. That pitch, the spitball, kept me up there for 13 years and won me over 200 games. I got so, I had as good control over the spitball as I did it over my other pitches. I could make it break any three ways, down, out, or down and out. And I always knew which way it would break. Depended on my wrist action. For the spitball, what you do is wet these two fingers. I used alum, or whatever, had it in my mouth. Something that would pucker your mouth. Get gummy. I go to my mouth on every pitch. Not every pitch would be a spitball. Sometimes I'd go maybe 2 or 3 innings without throwing one, but I'd always have them looking for it. They outlawed the spitter in December of 1920. Said only certain established spitballers could throw it after that. Me and 16 others was all. Maybe the great year I had in 1920 had something to do with it. I don't know. They wanted to shift the odds more in favor of the batter. Well, that's the way it is in baseball. I enjoyed playing ball, but it's a rough racket. There's always someone better or something. Someone sitting on the bench just itching to get in there or your place. Thinks he can do better, wants a job in the worst way. Back to the coal mines for you, pal. The pressure never lets up. Doesn't matter what you did yesterday. That's history. It's tomorrow that counts. So you worry all the time. It never ends. Lord, baseball is a worrying thing.